Reacher season 2, which is on Amazon Prime. Now, that I'll give a little bit of, because I've seen this, and Sharon, you've seen this. Yeah, so
I've actually seen one or two episodes.
oh,
So because when I was in, my uncle he loves it. So, but I
yeah.
haven't seen the whole series, but I've just caught one or two. We're talking about the big beefy one, yeah.
Yes, exactly. The big
Jack
beefy
Reacher.
one, Jack Reacher. So Jack Reacher is based on a series of books. Oh, no, Reacher is based on a series of books featuring the character Jack Reacher by an author called Lee Child. And I feel like you can't talk about Reacher without talking about the fact that this has been made into a film called Jack Reacher, or two films called Jack Reacher starring Tom Cruise. And I think every single Jack Reacher fan, I've never read any of the books, so I don't feel as strongly as this as most of the Jack Reacher fans do. They will yell to high heavens about what atrocities those films are, because Jack Reacher is written as a 6'5" tall behemoth of a man, as Sean just said, a big beefy person who sort of like blocks out the sun when he walks into a room, kind of thing. And
Big old unit.
yeah, he's a big old unit, and that is not Tom Cruise. So for Reacher fans who have been reading this guy in 20-something books, to have Tom Cruise, they were like, what the hell? So Amazon and Lee Child eventually said, yeah, that was a mistake, and they said, we're going to do a TV show, and where they're going to take a novel, and they're going to adapt the novel over 8 episodes. And they spent ages trying to find the right actor, and they landed on Alan Ritchson. Alan Ritchson, who is, I think some people have said they essentially found Jack Reacher, because he is big, he is huge, he is a unit. And the whole idea is that Jack Reacher has this kind of, I can't remember what TV show it was about, the guys who just sort of like, the lone guy who just, like almost a hobo, goes from town to town and just wanders the land, doesn't own anything. There's a recurring gag about how he owns a toothbrush, and that's the only thing he owns. He owns a toothbrush, but then each one of these things talks about a case that he finds as he goes around the country. This one is a little bit more personal, because the show starts off and you see a helicopter flying over what looks like, like a forest, like maybe in the Catskill Mountains or something like that. And then this guy gets beaten up. He's attached to a gurney, and they say, "You got any last words before you die?" And he just sort of says something like, "Oh, it's like you're gonna love it when the big guy finds you," and then they throw him out of the plane, and they throw him out of the helicopter. So it turns out that guy was part of Jack Reacher's old unit, and some other people on his old unit have been getting killed. And so some other people who are in his unit get in touch with him, bring him back in, and then these guys who are called the special investigators, the ones that are left, are trying to go through this whole thing to figure out what is going on, why they're getting killed off, who is doing it, and if possible, can they get revenge? And that is the storyline of it, and then it goes on from there. Now, I'm not sure, Sharon, I know you're an avid reader. Have you ever read a Jack Reacher book?
Yes, I've read I like to read all my series in order. I got so. I was given one that was like book 15, and I was like, oh no. So I started at book 1, and I've read the first 4.
All right, yeah.
There are about 25 of them. So yes, I have read the first few books.
Okay, so you will probably have more of like a thing of saying, okay, how close to the book it is and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I'll let you talk about that, and I'll just talk about what I thought as someone who's never read the books.
No, I think he is as good a Jack Reacher as I could imagine anyone to be, because he has got that whole independent, that like that hobo attitude that he doesn't want a house. It's not because he can't afford it. It's not because he can't. He's antisocial. He's got friends. He's got connections. He does interact with people. He just is fiddle-footed. He was raised in the army. He is only him and his brother, and his parents were army family. He moved from place to place to place. He never had a settled childhood. Then he joined the army himself. He never had a settled adolescence and sort of young manhood. And so now the fact that he's finally out of the army and he's free to do what he wants, he's just happy to drift. So if he drift, he does. But he has got ways of connecting with people. He gets sent money he gets his pension. So he has a bank account, and he has a code that people can send him. And if he gets his code, he knows to get in touch.
Yeah.
So if he isn't completely cut off and isolated, but he just likes to do his own thing. And so, yeah, he drifts, and then he works. Sometimes he'll work for a couple of months. Sometimes he'll work for a couple of days. Sometimes he'll think, you know what, I want to listen to a band in New Orleans. So he'll just go to New Orleans. Or he thinks, actually, I want to go see the snow. So he'll either walk, get the buses, or he'll just cross country and think, I'm going to go to Montana.
Yeah.
He just crisscrosses the country. And he sometimes encounters adventures along the way.
So what did you think? So have you read, because this is based on a book called Bad Luck and Trouble, which which is it's kind of like weird because I think from what I understand, a lot of the books about him being a lone wolf, and this is him being put together back with his old team. And so what did you?
No,
what did
I
you
haven't
think?
read this one.
Okay,
I haven't read this one.
But
That's a bit further up the pecking order because I am literally starting from the very beginning.
But what did you think about this as an adaptation of the Reacher that you read in the books?
I think it's done well. Yeah, you do get that idea. The only part of me sort of gets a little bit cross with Reacher because I don't know if it's just the way they were written in the 90s, but in every book he has like a different girlfriend. He's a bit like Bond.
Yes.
He has like a different love interest in every book. And I get the feeling he's probably they're going to do that in the series. He's going to have a different love interest in the series. But so he does like hook up with people. I'm thinking you're just a man slut. But maybe he's not as bad as that.
Sharon, no. That's like, whoa, that's a shocker. Excellent, good for you, girl. Good for you.
But that's just the impression you get from the first few books. Maybe he isn't quite so extreme in all the others, or maybe it's just a sign of the times. They were written in the 90s, some of these books.
Yes.
But I think what we see on the screen is as close to as I've seen anything. I think would be close to Reacher as I have seen.
Yeah, and
so I think they've got his spirit, they've got his humor, they've got his just sort of devil may care attitude. He's there's one voice that one of his colleagues in this film was saying, you should play video games, you'll like them, and he's like going, why? He goes, I think you'd be really good as a first person shooter. He goes, I am a first person shooter. And that sort of just sums him up. He doesn't live vicariously, he just lives. And I think it is. We do. Yeah, I think what we see is as close to Jack Reacher as I could imagine.
Yeah, I think because from everything I've never read the books, but from everything I've read about them, they're essentially pulpy fillers that you can. Essentially, people talk about like you talk about reading 4 of them and just racing through them. Like they're sort of page turners. They're fun. They're not supposed to be serious. They're not going to make you think about the nature of life or anything like that. Jonathan Glazer's never going to direct a Jack Reacher book.
You can sit back and you can probably read the whole book in 2 or 3 days, even if it's like 400 or 500 pages. You can just race through it. They're very readable.
So they're kind of like thrillers. They're almost like throwaway thrillers, and I think that they've done. Like, you get that with the TV show. You're watching the TV show and you're going, "That's good. That's great. 8 episodes. Get through it, and then cool. Where's the next one? Throw it over your shoulder. Where's the next one?" And I think that they've done really well with that because it is almost kind of like it's like the sort of action movie you used to get in the 80s. Like when you would get almost like a Lethal Weapon or something like that with the sort of banter and the repartee or something like that. It's kind of like that, but over 8 episodes. But it's like the good ones. It's like the good ones, and I actually quite like this. And I know there's people who've been going, I didn't like it as much as the first season. Personally, I don't see how it's any different from the first season. I mean, as in tone or in quality or anything like that. And I like the first season, like the second season. And I think that there are a couple of things. Obviously, there's Alan Richardson, but I really, really like Maria Sten as Neely. And the relationship between Reacher and Neely, I actually really, really love. It's almost like a brother sister, sort of sometimes it's like a paternal thing. It's like, but I really like the relationship between the two of them. And this has Robert Patrick in it. Robert Patrick, who is best known as who?
Terminator.
The T-1000 in Terminator 2. And there is a Sarah Connor line that they have in the first episode of this show that I loved. I thought it was hilarious the way it goes. Because it was done so knowingly because they have this Sarah Connor line and you're like, it's Robert everybody knows that's Robert Patrick. But some people are going to be like, I know that guy's face from Terminator 2. And they sound Sarah, and it has a sense of humor about it that I actually quite liked. Some minor quibbles in that I thought that Alan Richardson was actually too big. I thought he was a little too big in this season compared to last season. I think he's
up a bit.
Yeah, he's beefed up a bit, and he didn't need to. His upper body doesn't look like it can move that well. I think it's a bit too big in this season. But apart from that, I think it was good, and I would give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, that'd probably be my only quibble as well, because I think he's quite lean because at times he works as a labourer and at times he works as he just walks everywhere. So he can be quite lean but big with it. So yeah, I think he was a bit bulky. But no, I liked it.
Did you? Yeah. Sorry. No, go on, Sharon.
So how many stars, Sharon?
I'd give it a 4 star. I enjoyed it. I watched it, enjoyed it. As you say, a bit of popcorn. feast for the eyes and at times. But yeah, it was all fun and games.
Yep.